Tokyo is constantly on the move. More than 7 million transit Tokyo Metro's 179 subway stations and 195 kilometers of rail from 5 a.m. to midnight every day. If you're a traveler touring the Japanese capital, no other mode of transport gets you around the city's main attractions faster, cheaper, and on time as a subway ride does. Many of Tokyo's landmarks have subway stations built and integrated right within them. So if you plan to visit, say, Tokyo Skytree, for example, you don't have to walk too far or expose yourself to the elements. The Tokyo Skytree is the newest landmark of the city. Completed in 2011, the 634-meter broadcast tower and observation deck holds a Guinness record for the world's tallest tower. But enough of the geekery, because this is what you'll love the Skytree most for: panoramic views of the largest and most heavily built-up city in the world. Most say the best way to experience Tokyo is at street level. The better to see and hear the sights and the sounds of the city up close. But I must admit, seeing Tokyo from above gives you an entirely different perspective of this fascinating urban landscape. It's just breathtaking. Earthquakes, fires, and a world war have rearranged Tokyo's streetscape many times in the past, and still the city continues to reshape itself with new urban regeneration projects everywhere. There are many view decks in Tokyo atop those tall buildings over there, but nothing gives you the same view as that from the Skytree. That's because we're on the other side of the Sumida River, facing central Tokyo. A second observation deck on the 450th floor provides an amazing wraparound and walk-around 360-degree view of this megalopolis and its famous landmarks, like the ancient Asakusa Temple complex, where we're headed next. Asakusa. Yes, this is one of the oldest parts of Tokyo. And did you know that this was also the oldest subway station in the city? The reason for establishing Asia's first subway line here in 1927 is obvious. Asakusa used to be Tokyo's downtown, the commercial heart of the city. Except for the tourist trade and busy local markets, Asakusa has lost its place as a center of commerce and entertainment, but traces of Tokyo's once thriving shitamachi or downtown traditions remain. Okay, I must admit, Asakusa is on the touristy side, but don't be such a snob and enjoy this place. I think it's one of the last places in downtown Tokyo that hasn't been gentrified. You see, many of the buildings here have been around for centuries. Nakamisedori is a haven for Japanese kitsch and tacky souvenirs, but here and there you'll find centuries-old family-run establishments selling traditional rice crackers and bean paste sweets. Ancient Edo's artisanal spirit remains alive in this shop selling handmade blades, one of the proud crafts of samurai-era Tokyo. To get a glimpse of that shitamachi legacy, try the many old craft shops and dining establishments found in Asakusa's covered arcade. Asakusa was the original pleasure quarters of Tokyo. It was here where you found the first restaurants, the first theaters, and the first geisha houses. Now this restaurant, Imahan, is one of the oldest in the area, and they were the first to offer and serve sukiyaki, so we've got to try it. Imahan specializes in tsukudani, a beef dish boiled in their own secret sauce. They were among the first to serve beef, which back in the 19th century was an exotic ingredient introduced by the West. Today we associate sukiyaki with Japanese cuisine, and Wagyu beef, which they serve generously with it, a part of the Japanese diet. There's more to Asakusa than old dining traditions though. Founded in the 7th century, Sensoji is Tokyo's oldest temple and the main draw of Asakusa today, as it was for hundreds of thousands of pilgrims during the Edo period. Long before Tokyo became the capital of Japan and the seat of the imperial family in the late 19th century, the city has always been a magnet for visitors. How to move around millions of tourists on top of the 13 million who live in Tokyo is still a challenge today, and only the world's most efficient subway network can get that job done. Yuya Makawa works for Tokyo Metro, the company that built Asia's first subway line at Asakusa and now the largest subway operator in the city. With more tourists expected to arrive in the run-up to the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, Tokyo Metro is ramping up efforts to make riding the subway easier.
それ以外にですね、無料 Wi-Fi の、環境の整備ですとか、駅の構内での、多言語での情報の提供の強化など、今以上に、外国人のお客様に、地下鉄を分かりやすく快適に利用できるように取り組んでいきたいというふうに考えています。
The company is also promoting the subway and their Tokyo subway ticket as the ideal way to get around, but safety and security above all.
東京メトロでは2020年東京オリンピック・パラリンピックに向けて地震、あとは水害といった自然災害の対策、あとはホームの転落を防止するようなホームドアの設置、あとは体の不自由なお客様や高齢のお客様がシームレスに楽しんでいただけるようなエレベーター等のバリアフリー設備の整備、あとはですねテロ対策や駅構内の犯罪等を防止するためのセキュリティの設備の整備と、それ以外にですねそういったことで世界トップレベルの安心の提供をできるように進めていきます。
Foreigners arriving in Tokyo will be surprised to see just how easy it is to get from Narita Airport directly to Ueno Station downtown. It's amazing. You can get around Tokyo without ever having to take a taxi, a car, or a bus, just by train. And that includes to and from the airport, both international airports. And Ueno Station is your gateway to Narita International Airport through the Keisei line. Ueno Station is more than just a terminus for trains. It's also your access point to the most popular attractions immediately as you exit. As we showed you earlier, in Tokyo you can do almost all your shopping indoors or underground. But when the weather is great, like it is today, nothing quite beats the drama, excitement, and color of an outdoor market. And we know of one really good one right outside Ueno Station. Let's explore. Ameya Yokocho or Ameyoko is one of the few downtown street markets left. It was once a black market for American goods after the war, thus ame in the name, and sweet delicacies, which were in short supply then, was a market specialty. It's still known today as Sweet Candy Alley, so why not grab a favorite Tokyo delicacy? Some things are better enjoyed outdoors, and a hot crepe is definitely one of them. Ameyoko and Ueno Station are at the foot of Ueno Hill, a vast park famous for picnics and weekend entertainment. During Tokyo's Cherry Blossom Festival, this entire section of Ueno Park gets full. It gets really crowded with people. They come here for the Hanami, which is a day-long party to celebrate the blossoming of the cherry trees that line this entire street. It's really beautiful. They may look like cherry blossoms, but these are flowers of plum trees that bloom in February, and though not as famous as its cherry siblings, still quite a scene. Ueno is a sacred place, and many of Tokyo's ancient shrines and temples were built on the hill overlooking the city. Shinto and Buddhism exist side by side in Tokyo, and foreigners aren't discouraged from praying at these sites. There's lots to do in Ueno. The park houses the city's main zoo and 6 museums. including the Tokyo National Museum. But even if you're not into art, enjoying the view of the elegant building and grand fountain in the main square is well worth the long walk through the park. No wonder it's a favorite spot for picnics, though good food in Tokyo is never far away. With millions of Tokyoites taking the train each day, it's only natural that some of the most affordable and best ramen shops or noodle shops are found close to the train stations. And this is one of them. Every city has its ramen specialty, and in Tokyo, tonkatsu ramen, rich pork broth with egg, is popular. Don't worry about the language barrier. Just point to the photo of the dish you like. That's how it works in this city. We're almost done with Tokyo on the fast track, but not without a stop at the legendary night spot. Our last stop is Roppongi, which is perfect because this place is alive way after midnight. You can hit the bars or the clubs, or you can try something more wholesome, like spend some time here in one of my favorite places, Roppongi Hills. As you can see, it's illuminated at night. It's beautiful. Roppongi, Tokyo's nightclub mecca, has been gentrified somewhat by upscale developments like Roppongi Hills. Not a problem if you don't mind spending your night at Tsutaya, browsing through one of the city's best-stocked bookstores and magazine shops. Or booking a private room at the elegant Ume no Hana in the vicinity for a special multi-course kaiseki meal centered around vegetables, seafood, and tofu. Roppongi and neighboring Aoyama are also home to foreign embassies and multinational companies, with many high-class restaurants to cater to wealthy clients who work here. The night wouldn't be complete without one long last look at the sprawling city. The Tokyo Tower has been eclipsed by the much newer, the much taller, and the much more popular, well, at least for now, Tokyo Sky Tree. But I have to say, it's still a sight to behold, even if it's a copy of Paris's Eiffel Tower. Completed in 1958, it was then Tokyo's tallest structure, 15 meters higher than the Eiffel Tower. It's no longer as popular as the Sky Tree across the river, but looking down on the city at night from the 250-meter-high observatory still gives me the goosebumps. Indeed, the view from above can be just as dazzling and vibrant as the view from the ground. Or, as we realize on this trip, just as full of life and spirit from underneath the surface of the city's streets. And that's all for this episode of Executive Class. From Tokyo, I'm David Saldanan. Thanks for watching.